a good way to tell if somebody has too much free time on their hands? Well, as someone who has too much free time on their hands, typically what I like to do is I like to go on Twitter to see what people are raging and yelling about for the day. And today was no exception. Apparently last night, there was an artist who had called out another artist for heavily referencing one of their emotes. Because this one artist had posted a new "your character here." But apparently that pose was already taken by another artist, and that artist called them out. The person ended up retweeting their new "your character here" with like a question mark and then being like, "Oh, it doesn't make me angry. It seems funny to me, but obviously the heavy references are not so good anyways. It's funny. I don't want fights. Ha ha ha." And then I saw people in the comments posting about how, "Oh, you know, I saw that and it made me think of your emote base." And then other people are like, "Oh, well, you don't own a pose." And then other people went to the artist who made that new "your character here" and were like, "Oh, why did you copy this artist and stuff?" And then other people are like, "Oh, well, you don't, you know, nobody owns a pose and everything." And like, this is just very interesting because I don't make a lot of like drama related videos unless if it's something that's just really astronomically weird or incredibly serious. And for this video, I think this is astronomically weird. I've never really understood the whole concept of like, hey, if I draw something, this pose is mine. You know, like I totally understand as an artist if someone else like took your photo and just traced over your artwork, or like they're purposely trying to copy like your style, not like a pose. You know what I mean? It's like, let's say for example, I took a photo of me giving somebody the middle finger and then somebody else posted a photo of them giving the middle finger. It's like, okay, well, you know, we both just gave the middle finger, but I did it first. So clearly I'm the one who owns like the pose. Like it's just, it's weird. You know what I mean? I tried seeing it from like the other artist's side that was calling out the person, but something about it, about the whole like, hey, I don't want to cause a fight. I just think it's funny, and you know, like their art's not good because it's so clearly heavily referenced to mine. It's something about that just kind of rubs me the wrong way because this artist is a lot bigger than the other artists who came out with that "your character here." And like, sure, maybe they did reference the pose, sure, but when you actually look at the two different poses and see how similar they are, they're actually not that similar. Like the only thing that's similar is the pose, but the actual art style between the both of them are different. Like the eyelashes are a lot thicker, the eyebrows are shorter, they have like more shadow on their nose. The shadowing is completely different, and this new emote that this person that came out with has nipples, and the whole skeletal body position is different too. There was someone who I had seen that tweeted something a couple hours ago that I think is very interesting. They had said like, "Oh, I don't know if it's unpopular idea or not, but you simply can't own a pose. Calling out another artist for having the same pose as your emote illustration is crazy, especially if there's a distinct difference in style." And I think there's a lot of merit to that, especially when you compare the two emotes at hand. And again, I'm not trying to like start an own fight here. I just want to talk about this because I find it interesting. I just never understood this. It kind of reminds me of the time when I think like it might have been last year or a couple of months ago, but this same situation happened where one artist had drawn like a hand emote where like the person had like a face on a hand, and then somebody else did something similar, but they actually did something a bit more transformative. They did like a different style of that, and that artist who drew it quote unquote first got so angry about it and publicly called them out. And the crazy thing is, the person who allegedly did it first wasn't even the first one, because when you Google like hand emote, there are tons of other variations already online. And I don't know, I used to follow this artist and I really respected their work a lot. Like I loved their art style. And so for me to see them punching down on a smaller artist just because like, hey, they happen to also like the same idea of having like this type of emote, it's just really disappointing, because part of me just thinks, do you really have nothing better to do with your life? I personally feel like if you have enough time to be going around calling out artists for heavily referencing allegedly your artwork and then also calling it bad and saying how funny it is, then I don't know, I feel like you have enough time to be working on your art commissions, especially if you're claiming that your art commission slots are full right now. So maybe instead of bashing on a smaller artist, you should get back to your art commissions because your commissionees are waiting. I don't know, maybe it's just my brain words, maybe I am wrong, maybe it is bad to have a similar pose as somebody else. I don't know. All I know is that I actually went to art school, and all the artists that I've talked to and every genuinely reputable artist that I've ever spoken with have all told me that if somebody wants to copy your pose or your idea or your style, that clearly means you had something good, and that should be flattering. But obviously if they're tracing you, just flat out tracing and just trying to heavily copy everything that you do, then yeah, of course that's a problem. But otherwise, I was always told that nobody owns a pose. Maybe I'm wrong about that, I don't know. But anyways, since this whole debacle, I decided to make my own version of this. So I decided, why not sell the actual base, since everybody wants to be so upset about this whole pose thing. And this is my own version, which you can clearly see I drew freehandedly. So you can't say that it's heavily referenced other than the fact that, oh, I don't know, I just so happen to have a big booba model here. And you know what? I'll even do you one better for this, your character here base. I'll draw different booba sizes and even different eye poses. And you can just buy the base right here on my Ko-fi, which I'll have linked in the description. So let me know what you think. Do you think that artists do own the pose? Even if they may have not come up with the pose in the first place, they just might have think that they did, or that they were the first ones who allegedly posted on Twitter? Or do you think it's really silly because everyone has their own different art styles and their own appeal and nobody actually owns a pose? Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'm curious. And thanks so much for watching. I will be back whenever there is some more random stuff happening on the Bird app as usual.